tonight, guys, we have with us on the sticks Matt Brown with the Extra Points newsletter.
When the game went away in 2014, I think I could say this now, right? The big reason was so you got a couple of things that are working against you for a college basketball game. The biggest one is that the previous games did not sell very well.
Basically, he's saying that they reskinned Madden for college football 25.
Are you trying to get me killed? These Reddit people are going to show up at my house.
For those of you who do not know, Extra Points covers all of the off-the-field stuff that shapes college sports. Obviously, Matt has been for a couple of years now what I consider to be the source for college football 25 news. So if you care about college sports, you'll enjoy the Extra Points newsletter. Long story short, Matt's doing some great stuff in the college sports world, so that's why you're hearing from him today, and that's why we're doing this little 1v1, and hopefully I can do a better job than I have been doing in some of these on the sticks games. So Matt, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey man, it's a real pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I know you've been on vacation, but you've been back from vacation a little bit now. So what game mode have you been really playing the most on the new game so far?
So I recognize this is like a little bit of heresy within the community, but I haven't been playing very much Dynasty. I've done a little bit of Road to the College Football Playoff, and I've been smoked. I've been doing some Road to Glory.
Yeah.
And I've been playing some Ultimate Team. And before people jump on me here, I have not bought any packs for Ultimate Team. I've mostly just done the challenges and everything, but I figure I might enjoy Dynasty more after we get some patches. Yeah. And until I get a little bit better at recruiting. Oh, look at this. Whoop.
Oh, no, come on.
Get off me. Oh, get off me. Duh. I'm so good at video game sports.
Wow. Did you guys notice he's like, I've just been playing casually, and then on the first play, he runs the jet sweep. He knows. He knows.
That wasn't anything terribly crazy here.
True.
I think, listen, we both know that defense is freaking impossible.
Yes.
I think I'm guessing we're going to be in the 70s here, right? Like.
Oh wow. I mean, I'd love to put up that many points.
I'm not a bad offensive player, but I really struggle to defend anyone, which I feel like is true for a lot of people right now.
My defense has been severely exposed the last couple of weeks. But I'm not as big of an Ultimate Team hater as a lot of the community has been. So I used to be big on FIFA Ultimate Team, so it wasn't like a total shock to me to see them, show some love to Ultimate Team. I definitely think they put more focus on Road to Glory and Dynasty, though.
Oh, for that, I think that's unquestionably true. I understand that there's the kind of popular EA criticism is that, they cut back on all the Dynasty mode immersion. All these mistakes are because they put too much effort into Ultimate Team. And I'm like, brother, have you played Ultimate Team? Because that's just as buggy as everywhere else. To the extent that I play video games a lot, I've been playing NBA 2K for the last several years, and I play that My Team mode, and you can still have a mostly positive experience, I think. Nothing I could do about that. Without having to buy packs. Yeah. I understand why people are like, oh, you can't play this. It's so anti-consumer and supporting the company. And like, listen, I'm not going to sit here and cape for Electronic Arts, but just because you play that doesn't mean that you're doing gambling for children. The other thing is, like, you can do a challenge in just a couple minutes, and if I am right, I'm in my office right now for Extra Points, and I got 25 minutes between calls or something. Yeah, I could do an Ultimate Team challenge. I can't really do a whole lot in Dynasty necessarily. That fits for my schedule, right? You've got kids being interrupted all the time. That's just It just be like that.
I just noticed when you were talking about your camera, guys, obviously we both love pennants, and he can't see my camera right now unless he's watching the stream. But I would say his pennant setup is probably better than mine. What inspired you to go the pennant route, and how do you get all of them?
When I was first starting Extra Points, boy, I just got destroyed there. I bought a couple of pennants for places where I lived or schools that I attended. You can't see it, everything here on my wall because the camera tracks my face here for some reason. So I grew up in Granville, Ohio, so I bought a Denison pennant. I went to Ohio State, so I have an Ohio State pennant. I got a couple of those, and then a couple of these I bought myself on Etsy. I collected them, but I found now that when I'm interviewing university presidents or athletic directors or something, oh boy, I'm toast. When I'm interviewing somebody and they don't see their pennant on the wall, a lot of times they mail it to me. So I have a P.O. box, and my readers have sent me stuff. The SEC office has sent me some stuff. You can't see it here, but I think I have just about everybody from the Star Conference, like Division II, on here, because like somebody there just sent me the things. It's a fun little backdrop. My kids even made me one. It says Best Dad University.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, that was a fun Christmas present.
We don't have a Herd Bros pennant to send you, unfortunately, but maybe maybe this means we need to make one just so we can send it to you.
I don't think I have a Marshall one. I've got a West Virginia one, I think. But
oh no!
I don't think I have a Marshall pennant.
Well, Matt, our Herd Bro Matt will he'll hook you up with a Marshall pennant. So if you send me the PO box, we'll get you a Marshall one.
You got it. We'll drop that in there. Chat, if you want your school, we'll have to. What play did I call here? I'll drop that in the chat. All right.
Yeah, my pennants are all the Marshall away games that I've been to is what I have for mine. So
what's your favorite place that you've been then?
Oh, that's tough. Well, actually, my favorite experience was Notre Dame a couple years ago. I think it maybe helped that we won, but to be honest with you, like Notre Dame, the campus was beautiful, but also just the game day experience, the fact that it was so authentic was special. Like they didn't need a bunch of help from random music and things like that. And oh man, you had a guy wide open. I was worried about.
I know, but I at my feet. Like again, I got lucky in the first drive, but in retrospect, a play action on 3rd and 7 was dumb.
We'll take it though. But yeah, Notre Dame was great again because it was so authentic, I think, just the whole atmosphere. And honestly, I was really impressed with NC State when I went this year.
Interesting.
That
fan base is mean.
Really?
I mean, I with some level of affection, because they care so much.
Oh well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, no, I really like their brand. NC State's probably one of my favorite brands right now. I think they do a really good job with their branding, and they did a really good job following up with the fan experience with emails and stuff and surveys after the game. So I really appreciated just how seriously they took their fan experience at the games. Navy was another fun one just because it was the home opener that year, and so we got to see the entire brigade come out onto the field.
That place is so cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. So those are probably, I don't know, I've been to so many. Virginia Tech. I've been twice to Virginia Tech now, and obviously Enter Sandman, you can't get much better than that. So I've been to some fun ones. And then I'm going to Ohio State this year. So
that's right. That should
be fun. My in-laws are huge Buckeye fans, though. So
I think you'll enjoy it. Columbus is a special place.
I would enjoy it more if we won.
Well, sure. You almost did the last time, right?
In 2004 is when Nugent hit the 55-yard field goal.
Yeah,
that's I don't think that. I think we played in 2010 and got blown out, but we did play. The 04 was the long field goal game.
That was the one I was thinking of.
Oh, pick it. I want to talk a little bit. Just give you the opportunity to tell people about your newsletter and Athletic Director Simulator. But we'll start with the newsletter. So you've been doing it I know you've been doing it full time since 2020. But how long did it take you to get to that point? What kind of inspired you to start the newsletter in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I get this question, I wish I could lie to people and say I started this because I wanted to throw off the yoke of the oppressive editor and to go into business for myself, man. Boy, what was that? But legitimately, I did it because of desperation, right? I got laid off. Yep, Vox laid me off. They laid off sports desk. And so, but then like, I'm living in Chicago, I'm married, I've got kids, I got a mortgage. And so you can't work for $37,000 a year anymore, but because it's the pandemic, there's no media jobs, no PR jobs, nothing. Get that. So going into business for myself, I think was really my only option. My original thought was, okay, let's try this. And we can, we'll do this for a couple of months until I can apply for a real job again, right? When things kind of calm down. Hurtful, insubordinate, churlish. But what I realized is after 3 months, I was making too much money to like file for unemployment. And I just realized pretty soon, like, oh, this is actually my job.
Yeah.
I didn't make. I think it took me 2 years before I was making about as much money as I did at Vox, and by the third year, I was making substantially more. So it wasn't instant, but pretty soon I realized this is more than just a side gig.
Yeah, that's great though. That's great that you were able to do it so quickly.
I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think one was I'm lucky that I wasn't completely starting from scratch. I wasn't famous. Like the kind of joke was I was most famous Matt Brown writing about football. I had 15,000 Twitter followers. I think I'd already written a book. I had some audience.
Right.
And I was writing for a more B2B audience. So I didn't need the same kind of scale that maybe an other outlet would. Like even now, it's a reasonably. I have about a little over 25,000 subscribers, which is not an enormous publication, but because so many of them pay, and because of who that audience is, it's a pretty good business.
Right.
Unlike my past defense here, where I'm getting torched.
Guys, he's making me look great right now. This is the best I've felt in a long time.
I said I'm not good at video games.
No, that's one of the best throws, and chat can vouch for me there. That's one of the best throws I've probably had since the game's come out. I have not been performing very well. But yeah, I like I mentioned before, I've been kind of following you probably on social media since your SB Nation days. I was a sports journalism major at the time, I believe, when I started following you. So that makes sense as to why you kind of had that head start. So it's cool where you've been able to take it. And I know that you've had some changes in kind of the ownership structure and things like that over time. So, what's the future hold for the newsletter and where do you want to see it go?
It's a good question. So the short term is that we are about to launch a couple of pretty exciting. There we go. I was very lucky. Sorry, I was distracted there. Right. So there's two new things that we're doing. Mm-hmm. We are going to launch a new data product here in a couple of weeks. That's basically a revamped version of our FOIA directory, which is maybe not something that's going to be as exciting for consumers, but for industry people, including people like at a place like Marshall, it's extraordinarily useful. People pay tens of thousands of dollars a year for similar products, and we're going to try to offer it much cheaper. And we can use that, we hope, to kind of underwrite some other projects that we want to be doing. The other thing here is this is going to be public in a week or so. But we are going to be... can I swear on this? Didn't even see the guy. This is where things are it's going to get bad in a hurry. No, we're going to get in the event management business. So in a week or so, we're going to announce Extra Points is sponsoring an athletic event that I think is going to be very exciting and very unique.
Okay. I kind of envision in my head where it might be going, but obviously I don't want to ask you to spoil anything. Where do
you think it's going?
Well, if I were in your position thinking of some event to have, and this is like a one-time event or maybe an annual recurring event, I would imagine maybe some sort of conference. Maybe not.
Not a conference. What I can tell you is it is an athletic competition. Like we are hosting sports. Like we are going to be sponsoring a college sporting event that I cannot wait to share more details about. And that's part of the reason I've been buried these past couple of weeks trying to get the contracts papered over, everything where it needs to be.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Well, I look forward to hearing about it. I've got a 4th and 9 here. They want me to kick a field goal, but I'm going to do the Marshall thing on a 4th and 9 and go for it.
Well, yeah, because I can't stop you. And furthermore, I've had like one first down other than my...
I tapped it just...
Yeah! Look at that! The silver bullets are back, baby!
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, this is so embarrassing.
Well, that's neat that you have those plans though. So hopefully that rollout goes well, and look forward to hearing about that.
I can't.
The other thing, obviously, that has really kind of progressed is the Athletic Director Simulator game, which you started that pretty much from scratch, correct?
The entire thing from scratch.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you the story as I screw up this next offensive drive, right? No blocking.
Oh.
Okay. All right, we're gonna have to do some phony baloney here because we are in hell. So, like a lot of journalists, I was thinking that I might be able to do some better work if I learned to code a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of I do a lot of these complex data sets, and my thought was if Jesus. The thought was, okay, if I learn to code a little bit, I can tell some better stories. So I was experimenting with Python, and one of the things that a lot of people tell you as you're learning a new programming language is that one of the ways to see if you're learning the concepts correctly is to make a simple game. So I made a relatively simple choose your own adventure quiz game called Athletic Director Simulator 3000. It coded it completely myself, and it was not a sophisticated thing. It was maybe 200 lines of code, and I meant it mostly as a joke. Like the way that you won Athletic Director Simulator 3000 by buying lots of subscriptions to Extra Points. No, I refuse. And I thought it was just going to stay there as a joke. But what ended up happening was a couple athletic directors who read the newsletter, hey, this is actually pretty fun. You should keep working on this. And the response we got was shockingly positive. To the point then where my business partners at the time, D1 Ticker, were like, how much would it cost for you to kind of expand this and make it a real game? And I'm like, well, we're kind of running up here on the edge of what I'm capable of doing as a programmer, unless you want me to take some time off reporting. But I can write this up in pseudocode, and we can design things a little bit. We ended up contracting some of it out to another developer. But I wrote all the questions. I wrote the architecture, most of the core system. We turned it into a game that we used for our classroom product. We've used this just for regular fans. And I think once we are done with this event management, once we are done with this data product and some of this reporting things that we want to do here, I think we want to look back and to think, how can we make Athletic Director Simulator into something closer to Football Manager? Okay. Something that you might be able to play as a standalone game rather than, a little goofy Langyap. Basically, what I'm learning here is that if I can't blow up the pass beforehand, I'm going to have some kind of busted coverage, and I'm really struggling to throw the ball right now. Just real disaster all the way around.
Matt is in the chat right now, kind of talking about the game and Athletic Director Simulator, because we played it together. You might remember it. I reached out to you a while ago to see if it was okay if we live streamed it on YouTube at the time,
which I very much appreciate.
It was really fun, and we went through it realistically once, and then another time tried to see how quickly we could get fired. And it was kind of funny how the answers would just like change every once in a while for stuff you thought you knew the answer to, and then it was like, oh, shoot, I guess this was a different situation, and which you could do the same thing with different results in the real world, I think was the concept there. So
that was why. So to kind of spoil it, right? the way that it's set up is that every scenario response is set to a weighted dice roll. So there are some options that are better than others, obviously, that have a positive result. And, what kind of AD you are and where you're, those things kind of also influence the probabilities. But there's no 100% successful response to any question. And we wanted that one to make the game a little bit different, but also to communicate that that's how the real world works. There we go. No. There we go.
I threw it too early.
All right. No, that's okay. Let's go, baby. Can we get a first down now? I forget where the jet sweep even is in this playbook. All right, there we go. You know what we need to do? When we don't know how to play defense, and when we don't know how to make effective reads, it's time to think about
pound the rock. Just got to keep pounding the rock.
My true mentor, my true Lord and Savior. What would Jim Tressel do? What Jim Tressel would do?
Jim Tressel
is run the football. Is what he would do.
Oh, get it, baby! No, let's go!
No, Jim Tressel would never.
Jim Tressel.
Oh, this is terrible. This is what I get for dropping some potty mouth language. I'm sorry,
karma.
Chat, I had a heated gamer moment. I'd like to apologize for... Oh, he bites on the play action. Ugh.
So you guys, obviously you guys got to hear a little bit about the newsletter and apparently some big plans coming up, and then also the athletic director simulator, so which you get if you are a premium subscriber to the newsletter. Mm-hmm. So it's all connected, which is very smart, by the way. Let's shift gears to talk about college football 25 a little bit. I know this is what you've been doing for who knows how many years now, but maybe just a little bit longer. Threw the ball to the wrong guy, but it worked out.
Nope.
So I think you kind of saw the potential hype behind this game multiple years ago when you started doing your freedom of information inquiries to schools about what they had submitted to EA and things like that. That's when I first started following you on the topic, at least. And so, whereas a lot of people kind of came around to reporting on it this year when they started releasing stuff publicly. So what made you, I guess, like, how did you kind of pick up on the hype so early on? What'd you see?
The true story about it was a little bit of an accident. I think it's especially ironic here because of who I am, but I was working on a story in January of 2021 about this new development of more and more Okay, give me a break. Give me a break. Sorry. Smaller schools earning additional revenue by selling licensed beer.
Yeah.
Right. They partner with the local microbrewery. They stadium. They get a cut of the IP, and schools similar to Marshall Country make $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 from doing it. So I filed. I want to say it was at Bowling Green and the University of Nevada, and to tell the story, I'm trying to get a bunch of information, between them and their licensing company, about non-apparel licensing deals. And I remember I got a bunch of stuff here about beer and a bunch of stuff here about other food and drink, and then I got the original project proposal from CLC and EA Sports in January of 2021 that talked about, this is what we want to have in the game. This is what we're thinking about the game coming out. This is how we're going to pay the initial licensing. And it was, 5-page document, whatever. When I got that, that's what made me realize this is beer. Especially because I tweeted like some pretty small thing from that about, hey, the CLC expects the game to come out in 2023. And people blew up. So they got 1,000 retweets. And I realized, okay, this is where it had never occurred to me that there would be a lot of internal communication between EA Sports and between licensing agents that would appear in open records.
Yeah.
Until I got that from CLC. And so that made me realize, let's take this seriously, and see what we can learn from it. And I've been filing open 10 years. I can do that faster probably than most other reporters. And so I think that made me realize, this is something worth...
let's go!
Are you...
Things are going south for the Buckeyes today, ladies and gentlemen.
I think this is scripted. I think this is all the pain in the butt that I've been past couple of years. They're embarrassing me in front of everybody here on the internet, which I understand. I can reach out to these guys at scale, and I want to learn more about what EA's telling them and how the system all works.
Gotcha.
And that's what happened.
I know you still stay in touch with your contacts at EA. You created the form to fill out with the bugs and fixes and things like that, which I greatly appreciate because obviously those exist, and it's nice to know that they have been receptive to that. Do they feel like this game was the success that they expected upon release with all the pre-orders and all the users that have been online during the first few days and weeks? Has it kind of surpassed their expectations with what they thought would happen?
I think I could say this without getting in trouble. The answer is yes. In the very conversations, 21, 22, that I was having with people at the company about projected sales numbers, a lot of figures were really pretty conservative, and part of that was because I think even in the very beginning, the company knew that people like us, in their 30s and 40s and diehards from the old game, like they were going to they're going to buy it, but they didn't know about whether this was going to move consoles. They didn't know if the younger generation was going to respond.
Yeah.
They didn't know what assets were going to be in the game, or if they were going to get every player, everything. So the initial expectations were relatively modest. When I had said, I think in a couple interviews, if this game sells like NHL, it's a success. I wasn't making that up, pulling that out of thin air, right? That was, that was something that I had been told. And I think we've seen now, right? There was 2 million people that were playing early, and not everybody bought the game. Some of those guys were on EA passing out, but
right.
In terms of the initial commercial response and the initial critical response, my understanding, is that the folks in Florida are very, very with how this has gone.
That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, no, I definitely, when I started seeing some of the numbers, especially on the pre-order numbers, and we're all capable of doing the math on how much it costs to pre-order the game and how many people did it. Obviously, they have their expenses that go into it, but I felt like they were probably pretty happy, generally speaking, with how the game kind of rolled out. So,
no, yeah, and unquestioned, right? I think we can ballpark this at least 2 million actual pre-orders. Granted, you remember, you sell a game on the PlayStation Store, EA doesn't get to keep those profits because some of that goes to the PlayStation, to Sony and everything, but. Yeah, considering that the last game, did about 1.3, wow. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
To get that many. I still don't expect this to. That would blow me away if that ends up happening. But commercially, and critically, they're very satisfied.
Did you say it cut out briefly there? Did you say that I'm just filling in the blank? That you say you didn't think it would outsell Madden?
No, I still don't.
Okay, well, I was just that's where it cut out. I didn't hear what you said in between the two, so I just wanted to make sure that's what you said. But I figured it was.
I am much better at writing and reporting than I am at playing video games.
That's what he says.
And that's what I'm.
Take it. We'll take it.
So I am. My daughter has just came in here. This is my daughter Penelope.
Hello there.
Say hi, everyone. My dog Peach. I am currently playing and being interviewed right now. Absolutely destroyed.
You just want to give her the controller?
Yeah. You want to play the fourth quarter for me? I know you don't know a whole lot of football, but I'm way better against the computer than I am a serious professional gamer.
Oh my goodness. You guys. He's calling me a serious professional gamer right now. That is very mistaken.
Well, to my 9-year-old. No, you can't hear me right now, huh, Pen? All right.
Oh, I think. Well, first of all, I just thought of this. I'll bring it up now. If you can have somebody get rid of the skyscrapers behind our stadium, that'd be great. Because we do not have those.
I don't know too many skyscrapers in Virginia.
Actually, I saw a chart today because obviously Chicago has more than like California, New York, or not New York, California, and a couple of other cities combined. But West Virginia has 0 total skyscrapers, technically speaking. So, and I know these aren't skyscrapers, but it was funny when all the Marshall fans loaded up the game and we were like,
sure,
what is that? We have a steel mill back there and a baseball field. We don't have any like hotels. So, anyways,
you are not the first. Come on, this reminds me of that Ohio State championship game with first and then Florida.
Oh, I think you caught it. You just didn't get the yards you needed there, but
I just didn't get the yards. I threw it behind the sticks, and what are we going to do? While they were, on some level, everybody was working off of the renders that the school officials gave them, and many of the G5 states, the school didn't actually give them enough stuff, or they didn't respond to emails. The emails went to the people. There wasn't proper communication between the school and so the EA had to kind of cobble things together, and they did use AI to build the architecture for some of these things. So everybody's got a little bit of, not everybody, but a lot of stadiums are missing a thing or two.
Something.
And that's something that I think is going to be updated throughout the course of the season.
Gotcha.
Along with the uniforms and playbooks and a lot of these bug fixes.
Yeah.
It's taken a little bit longer. Okay, there we go. Finally.
And it's my understanding too that their players have the potential to be added to the game at a later date.
Get off me!
Oh my goodness!
Let's see. Okay, we got a couple of skills. That's right, secret squirrels. This is a comeback. People forget this. I'm 5 for 15. I've thrown 3 picks. That's right where I want them. No, but yes, that's true. Users, there is the capacity to put people in the game that are not currently in the game right now.
Okay. Now, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people, this was one that sticks out in my mind early on as one where the rumors were coming out when the player unions or the unions tried to get players to join and come out against the game unless they were getting paid more. And I just remember you were always like, that's not going to stop the game.
Right.
The game's coming out, yada, yada, yada. And everybody was like so scared. I always had faith, though, because you said it wasn't going to cause problems. But moving forward, is that a threat to the game, or are there any threats that could potentially hurt the game coming out year after year? Basically a repeat of what happened after NCAA 14.
I don't see. It would really surprise me right now if because of legal challenge, something else disrupted the game. The only thing I can think of that has I guess a chance is if some of these schools said, all right, we've had a couple versions of the game here. EA does not pay the schools very much money for the licensing. And if things fell apart because the schools wanted more or they wanted to set something else up differently, the saying that people at EA told me repeatedly is no real players, no real game. And at this point, that's true. But no real schools, definitely no real game. And I think that's the only thing here. What a lot of fans, I think, missed is the major player advocacy group that was pushing people to not do the game. It's called the College Football Players Association. Mm-hmm. They don't have any members. Like, the people that are in the College Football Players Association are mostly ex-players.
Gotcha. Okay.
There's very few dues-paying current college football players. The advocacy group that has which didn't exist then before, but it's mostly reporters that are the real constituency players themselves, and that's why I was deeply skeptical, because I talked to players. There's a lot of things that players are really concerned about. Labor, organized. We could talk about why that's a major challenge.
Yeah.
But people would have walked over broken glass to be in this game.
Right. Exactly. And the thing that the NCAA community, content creators, or just casual players even, the thing that we always said was, like, we'll play with quarterback number 12 instead of Cole Pennington all day if we have to. Like, we just want the game back.
And, right. And you wouldn't be able to get it because Marshall would say, at this point, if we can't pay the players, we're never going to license RP to be in this game again.
Okay, interesting.
Like that. I mean, when the game went away in 2014, I think I could say this now, right? The big reason was Ohio State, Washington, and Notre Dame. We are pulling our licenses because we are concerned about legal liability.
Okay.
So there's never going to be a game where we have, right end 89 because the schools weren't willing to be a part of it without the players.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, and FIFA, over the years, well, obviously it's EAFC now, but they have struggled to keep the rights to a lot of the big competitions and also some of the teams as well. So they've had to get a little bit generic with, some big time clubs from Italy, some of the biggest competitions in the world they've lost the rights to. And I don't think it's hurt them too much just because that's what they're known for. That's nobody's going to go play any other soccer game, at least not majority. I think everybody's mainly crap. EA as far as soccer is concerned, but it would definitely be a bigger hit to the franchise if Ohio State pulled out. For example.
So it's interesting that you mentioned that example, right? Because one, the total market for soccer games is enormous because it's global.
Yes.
And the way that American football, and certainly not college, is set up. But there are other credible competitors in the soccer space. The Sensible Soccer did for a long time. There's the other one that I think QnA makes, right? That signed the exclusive agreements for a couple of places. And that's the only way that they can really be successful is to overpay for rights. And right now, EA has an exclusive licensing arrangement for simulation football on the college space. I think they had that exclusive deal for years, which limits things a little bit. Threw it behind him. Doesn't matter.
Wow. Yeah, I think like 2K might be looking at doing a soccer game as well.
We shall see.
Yeah.
We shall see if anybody ever wants to get back into the college football space. There's just so many daggone international soccer teams. Yeah. Like, even now, right? The EA game has the rights to every Brazilian club, which I check because that's where my people are. I know there's some Italian teams that have exclusive arrangements with the competitors. I don't think that's going to happen team-wise in the near future. But we have seen that EA plays hardball with some of their licensing fees, and that's why you're missing a lot of trophies. Yeah. That's why you're missing the ESPN iconography.
Which that's really the only brands that can afford to not have their identity in the game are the ones that make enough money from other places. Like for Marshall and schools of Marshall size, I make the argument every time that you just got to do what you got to do to get into the game because people will become fans from playing this video game. And to be out of it or to not have everything accurately in it to kind of create that experience that you might have on a game day, like you're just missing out an opportunity to create a fan from that. So
older people that, I joke, that haven't played a game since Solitaire.
Yeah.
Who are thrilled about this game.
I didn't know that guy would be there.
This is a chance for our university to have exposure to a generation that we struggle to reach, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and people outside of our market. And we can't buy that kind of exposure. And it's like, that's why we have to do it this way. Yeah. Will that change over time? Maybe not. But you're right, especially for a school like Marshall that is concerned about enrollment, that wants to, people to be aware of them in other places. Yeah, they knew they probably would have done it for $200, let alone the 20,000 or whatever that they ended up getting.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, especially, people like to rebuild the smaller teams. They don't want to play with the Ohio States to start out necessarily. So there is a lot of exposure for group of 5 teams, especially just because they're in the game and people want to use them to do their dynasty. And then you kind of fall in love. Like we've been, for the last 5 or 6 months, we've been really just doing like a Boise State dynasty. And rebuilding Boise State, and we've gotten great engagement from their fan base. Like even their athletic director Jeremiah Dickey has engaged with us.
Oh
and
yeah,
so,
he's very online.
Yeah, and it's been great. Like it's been a great experience, and I'm like 100% engaged with Boise for the upcoming season. I wouldn't hate it if I can make my way out to a game. It's just that the cost is a little much, but like I wouldn't hate it. But you know, because it's cross country for us. But
I covered one last year, but that was my first one. Yeah.
Did you? I'm assuming you enjoyed it.
Oh, it was great. I love Boise.
Yeah, it's so it's been cool, and I think that's one of those teams where I'm going to be able to root for them for a long time now, just because, unless the decision is between Boise and Marshall for a spot in the playoffs, then I might have a little more hostility towards them. But until that day comes, I don't mind to root for Boise. So it's been cool that's what can happen with the video game sometimes.
I was joking with some people at Kennesaw because they realize that they're the meme team for this year, right?
Yes.
About like how they are getting their players to talk about how we could sell Kennesaw to this league the school did, but want to take over the expansion team. Totally get it.
Right now, I have one more video game related question, and then I'll get away from that. And this one's not college football 25 related. I've seen a lot of people ask you about college basketball and whether or not it can make a return. And I've also seen your answer, so I'm not coming at this totally naive to the issues, but just for the sake of those watching, maybe talk us through why you think we wouldn't get a game soon, and maybe what would need to happen for us to get one soon.
Yeah. I don't think there's one coming in the immediate future, but I don't want to say that it can never happen, right? So you got a couple of things that are working against you for a college basketball game. The biggest one is that the previous games did not sell very well. College football, went away because the courts and the licensees essentially mandated it, but the game was very commercially successful. Again, the last game sold 1 million, 3 million, 4. It sold over 1 million, I think, years before then. The college basketball games were suspended before the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit, both from 2K and EA, because they were not selling more than 600,000 copies. Okay. So, and that's just because college basketball in this country is just an enormously more niche sport than college football. People are invested in the tournament; they're not terribly invested in the regular season of college basketball.
Right.
That doesn't mean that it's impossible, but that's part of the challenge. The other part of the challenge is that the licensing is pretty expensive, not just because you have a gajillion more teams, but you can, like, this college football game doesn't have the NCAA licensing. You need the college football playoff. I don't think this game would be so successful without it, but you don't need the NCAA. The NCAA owns the college basketball. You can't have March Madness without the NCAA, and working the NCAA means that you have to deal with different editorial restrictions, different costs, different challenges. Okay, I even made the right read there and just can't throw the dang ball. So those are all those challenges. Now, the college football game, because it's been so commercially successful so quickly, could cause some people to rethink some things.
Right.
The other, of course, big challenge is that EA doesn't make a simulation quality basketball game anymore. So you have a lot more development costs, whereas obviously for this different game than Madden, but it's not really a secret that
So you heard it here first, guys. Basically, he's saying that they reskinned Madden for college football 25.
Are you trying to get me killed? These Reddit people are going to show up at my house. No, obviously they were able to use some of the same infrastructure, right?
Yeah. You would expect them to. You would expect them.
Yeah, it's a different game, but they used guys from that team. They used before, right?
Right.
College baseball, this is going to shock you guys, sold even worse than college basketball. The bulk of that game was actually made by Canada. That a couple of people that worked on the project told me had no idea how college baseball. I think in the original version of the game, you could trade players. Right? Or at least there were a lot of blood and guts problems, and the reason that the game exists at all was because the EA lost their Major League Baseball license. and they wanted to make a baseball game, and that was much cheaper to do. I don't think that's ever going to happen again. I owned it, and I enjoyed playing it in college. Being a good game, it wasn't really a very good game. I had a lot of technical problems with it, but what can you do? I think that there is space for there to be college baseball games, college softball games, other college sports games that are not AAA major studio console releases. Could there be an indie college baseball game? Out of the park baseball centered around college baseball? Yeah. Could there be a mobile game that's centered around some of these niche sports? Absolutely. Could CLC help facilitate that? Yes. But video game development is so much more expensive and so much more complicated in 2025 as it was in 2005. The math just makes it really difficult to do these kind of things.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And that's with basketball. And obviously them not making an NBA live right now, kind of hurts a little bit. I've wondered if maybe 2K or if they brought NBA live back, if they could kind of subsidize the cost of the college game a little bit by pairing it inside of the NBA game. Obviously, that'd be a huge game, but I think because I don't pay nearly as much attention, just like. Same way with the NFL, I pay attention to it for fantasy football, and that's about it right now. But I feel like there is a huge fan base that they could bring in, but like you said, it's not enough to necessarily make them go through all that development cost. But maybe if they paired it with the NBA live, it could work. I'm just not sure.
No, well, it's interesting. And my understanding is EA actually kicked the tires on this last year. Is licensing college IP as secondary modes within those major titles. So as an example, not making a full-on college hockey game, but licensing the college hockey teams to appear in like create a player mode for NHL.
Yeah.
Or to add some college teams into FC. And I actually think now that there's a license infrastructure, built in here for this, that the costs to doing that are much lower and it's much more possible.
I think that it's one of those things where kind of like college football video game, I think there was such a long break that it created a significantly higher demand than if they would have been making it every single year. So potentially, if you're an indie developer and can come out with a pretty decent quality game, I think the demand would be there for it to where it might be worth their time if they can get it.
The challenge, right, is like animation is expensive.
Yeah.
Licensing is expensive. We actually looked at doing some licensing for Athletic Director Simulator. I had some conversations with some universities. Can I put your actual school in the game? Can I? And we had Ohio Valley Conference schools wanting $30,000. Wow. And it's like, come on, man! Like I know how much people are making in the EA game. This thing is come on! I cannot throw the ball.
Well, let me jump over to some non-video game questions, just because this is out of my curiosity and just a little bit more about yourself. So, outside of Ohio State, what is your favorite college stadium? Maybe that you visit. I'm sure you visited a lot, but what's your favorite that you've gone to?
That I've gone to is LSU.
Okay.
I went there when I first moved to Louisiana. That was out of high school. Out of college. Was teaching elementary school in Louisiana. An LSU game, and the cultural exchange and culture shock, loud, strange environment, and people offering me alligator and stuff. Loved it. I also, as kind of a underrated one, I really like ECU. I've been to ECU several times. Part of that is because my mom used to teach there, so I would just be in Greenville a lot. But that is a somewhat SEC-like environment for a G5-like program. I think one of the kind of when I'm visiting a new stadium is, even though I don't drink, is this the kind of place that's where fans are going to offer me clear alcohol, even though I'm clearly at work. I'm in a tie. I'm in my, I got my credentials, got my sports jacket and everything. And if the answer is yes, I like that kind of place, right? And that's what ECU is like that. I think West Virginia is like that. NC State's kind of like that. LSU's definitely like that. Those are fun places to be.
The numbers have trended downward with attendance to athletic events, especially college football. But I feel like since COVID, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like some schools have definitely seen an uptick in attendance, or at least some stabilization, because I don't know if it was the demand created from being locked up with COVID, or if it's because the sport itself seems to have a lot more momentum and attention now with NIL and all the media deals. What's the coolest strategy that you have seen an athletic department or a fan base implement for the fan experience with college football?
One of my favorites, I think they still do this, is at Louisiana Lafayette. What the folks at Lafayette wanted to do was they said they wanted to be the cheap. They wanted their stadium to be the cheapest restaurant on a Saturday in Lafayette. And so I'm getting the numbers off here. It's been a little bit, but I want to say it was like $2.50 hot dogs.
Yeah.
To $3 for a hamburger. It was like $1.50 or $2 for a tall boy. And I remember hearing about that and thinking like, oh my gosh, the state minimum for a tall boy. Surely you must have some kind of problems, right?
Yeah, right.
With what the AD and his deputies were like, listen, wait, please don't print it this way. But they figured that it's better for the university to have a full parking than it is on concessions. And the Atlanta Falcons have been doing the same thing, and a couple of pro teams are coming around to that model. And I think that's very smart. You can't make tickets free because then people won't come, weirdly enough. But you don't want to nickel and dime people,
right?
And you want to make it accessible for their families, especially if you're a low major institution where you're trying to be someone's second favorite team. Yeah. And I think they do that well, and I think more schools are getting wise to that. You want to make the food interesting, and you want to make the food accessible.
Yeah. Hey, food's important, and when I have to go buy my wife a $6 pretzel, I balk at it. So I'm like, honey, I can just go outside the stadium and get you McDonald's right now if you want.
We're not doing it. And you get press box, but I look at these prices and think, because I don't go to games that often as a, but I'm just like, I can't pay this, man.
Yeah.
I don't. No. I got, you saw my oldest. I got kids.
Yeah, food's important, especially when you have kids and they're wanting stuff, because they're not watching the game without a pretzel or some popcorn or something like that. So when it's $2.50, that definitely makes you feel a little bit better about paying for that and a drink for multiple kids, and so especially when a lot of the game times fall during a mealtime these days, depending on when it starts. So it's cool to hear that. That's like, that's the first strategy that really came to your mind was related to food. So what would you say is the biggest challenge facing Division I college athletics today? And if your answer is, I know that that's a very, very hard question to answer, but maybe take all if I can do this, let's say take all the legal stuff out of the picture. What would your answer be then? Or does that narrow it down too much?
I think the legal stuff would be my first, second, and third answer.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I want to make you think about it.
Yeah, Gen Z and Gen Alpha are not as big of sports fans in general as millennials, and certainly not of Gen X and beyond. They tend to be more invested in particular athletes than teams, and they're not as invested at large in the in-person experience. And so I think anybody, whether you're in college or minor league pros or anybody else, can't take for granted that the next generation of fans is going to be as plugged in and as engaged as the last one.
Right.
There's so many potential threats on the legal side, and you can't have strong college football without strong colleges. But setting all that stuff aside, kids don't want to spend $50 for a 4-hour football game with a lot of TV breaks and not have a great experience.
Matt, I appreciate you taking time out of your evening to spend time with us and play a game and answer some questions.
Thanks for reading. Thanks for watching. Looks like I need to go make sure that my oldest is in bed. And I'm going to go make sure that tomorrow's newsletter is all set.
Sounds good.
Thanks for having me, man. This was fun. And thanks for helping my old butt figure out how to do streaming and everything.
Yeah, no problem. Have a great night. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Yep. You too. Take care.